Hello! Spoiled 16-year-old girl Poppy Moore lives in California and always gets what she wants. Despite her credit cards with no spending limits, Poppy suffers from a lack of parental affection. With her actions, she constantly provokes her dad, and the time comes to put the rebellious daughter in her place. Poppy is sent across the ocean to a place where money can't save her from the consequences of her reckless actions. Poppy Moore from Malibu is sleeping peacefully in her bed to the sound of waves. Nothing can disturb her sleep in a wealthy mansion on the shores of the Pacific Ocean. The heiress of a millionaire father opens her eyes and, in a panic, jumps out of bed. She checks the calendar on the wall. This summer day is marked with the symbol of a nuclear explosion. Poppy runs to her little sister Molly, who is calmly making breakfast. She's not as bothered by the visit of their father's new romantic interest.
Please tell me you're not going to do anything crazy.
Look, you know I love you, Molster, but there are some things you're just way too young to understand.
But Poppy is adamant. She is not going to let a stepmother into her life. She calls all her friends and invites them to come over to her party. At the same time, a truck arrives at the house with the belongings of her father's girlfriend. Poppy commands the crowd to unload the boxes and take whatever they want. The girl herself grabs an armful of dresses and jumps down the cliff with them. The friends are worried about Poppy's safety because there may be sharks in the sea, but the troublemaker cheerfully swims out of the water and sees her father's menacing face at the top of the cliff. Furious, Jerry disperses the partygoers and tells his rebellious daughter that this was the last straw. He sends Poppy to a boarding school in England. Her mother studied at a similar school.
So what? Big deal! You can just replace me with a newer, trashier version like you did with Mom.
The girl is sure that this plan will never work and she won't change. On top of this, she hits her father with a question about whether he thinks about her mother at all anymore. But this is clearly not the moment for such a touchy subject, and a furious Jerry leaves in silence. In the evening, Molly visits her older sister in her room. She is upset that they will have to part and says that Poppy has gone too far. Not used to thinking about the consequences, the girl assures her that everything will be fine and she will easily settle in England. After all, they speak American there. The next day, Poppy is visited by her friend Ruby. On the internet, they learn more about the place where the troublemaker is going to spend the next year. Ruby says that the lack of sunlight is bad for skin and metabolism. Poppy grows gloomy about the fact that she will have to study so far from the city, and the school looks extremely old-fashioned. Molly hears the conversation and rolls her eyes at the obvious fakeness behind Ruby's facade of friendliness. Poppy doesn't seem to notice it and begs her friend to call her every day. After a long flight, Poppy arrives at Abbey Mount, accompanied by her father. The headmistress of the school, Miss Kingsley, greets Jerry, who thanks the woman and informs her of a difficult period in his daughter's life. The woman wastes no time and takes matters into her own hands. She asks Poppy to get out of the car, telling her that she won't accept any arguments and that she is the one who dictates the rules here. The new girl comes out into the open. Since all students wear long plaid skirts and gray jackets, Poppy's flashy appearance really stands out. The younger girls' jaws drop as they turn their attention from the local star Harriet. The girl and her entourage notice a potential rival. Kingsley introduces Poppy to her new big sister, Kate, a more experienced student who will help her settle in. Poppy greets her in an unfriendly manner and tells her that she is going to choose her own friends. Kate takes the hint and goes back to her friends, calling the new girl a bronco, an untamed horse, who will take some work. Meanwhile, the principal, who is about to leave, is stopped by the attention-seeking Harriet. She tries to win the woman's favor by presenting her with 2 partridges that she herself shot while hunting. Kingsley is not happy with the gift, and she finds a way to refuse it politely. Afterward, the head girl and her friends approach Poppy. Harriet introduces herself, but the arrogant new girl is unwilling to shake the hand of the first person she meets. Grabbing it by force, the captain of the school's lacrosse team explains that the rules are different here, and Poppy must show her respect.
When the head girl has earned my respect, then I'll shake her hand, biatch.
I'm sorry.
Apology accepted.
The girl feels in her element in the local kingdom of passive aggression and does not bend under Harriet's pressure. The latter leaves, determined to find a way to put the insolent American in her place. Jerry says goodbye to his daughter, promising to come back at the end of the semester. Poppy, as usual, responds with aggression and jokes. All of a sudden, realizing that she is all alone, sadness seeps through the girl's usual defenses. She becomes quiet before the long separation and suppresses the urge to shed a silent tear. Now, She needs to pull herself together and create comfortable living conditions for herself in this hellhole. She goes to her room, where Kate, Josie, Kiki, and Jennifer are already organizing their belongings. The latter is addressed by them all as Drippy. Poppy asks the girl to leave her room, and then realizes that she'll have to share the place with her roommates. The only unoccupied bed is the one in the corner, and with a disgusted look on her face, the girl tries to disinfect everything around her with antiseptic. Poppy wants to call Ruby, but the phone doesn't have a signal. The roommates say that there are only a couple of hotspots on the grounds where they manage to make calls. Plus, they are only allowed to talk to their families on the weekends. Poppy, who is also planning to call her therapist, is determined to get around this rule. Meanwhile, a huge trunk of fashionable clothes left outside gets soaked through, and Poppy frantically tries to save what she can. At that moment, the matron enters the room, demanding that the American girl change into the school uniform and confiscates the girl's cell phone. Poppy mistakes the strict Scottish woman for a maid and treats her accordingly. She even tries to bribe the woman with money, and for this, she and all the roommates are punished with penalties. The bell rings, announcing the start of the school day. An irritated Kate makes Poppy change into her uniform so they won't be punished even harder. The girls head to the dining hall and see the principal's son, Freddie, at the teacher's table. Being the head girl, only Harriet dares to talk to him openly, causing gossip.
Devastating heartthrob. Won't look at any of us since he got caught playing doctors and nurses with a girl in the 3rd grade.
Of course, all relationships are forbidden at the school. Poppy doesn't like the local food either, and instead of saying grace with everyone else, she recites her own prayer in Hindi. This again draws everyone's attention to her, and Freddie casts a fleeting glance at the strange new girl. Afterward, everyone heads off to study. Poppy finds herself in a foreign language class, where they are taught using computers. In the evening, the girls talk about boys, and the American brags about her experience with athletes and sons of millionaires. Drippy tries to paint her eyebrows, and gets very upset upon seeing the end result. The matron tells the girls to go to bed, but Poppy doesn't want to sleep, so she leaves the room to send a message to Ruby in the computer lab. She manages to sneak in unnoticed, and while doing so, she spots Drippy, who is also sneaking around the corridors in the dark. Poppy follows her roommate stealthily, discovering that she is stealing ice cream from the kitchen. On the way back to the room, a drill fire siren sounds, and the matron ushers them all outside. To remain undetected, Poppy climbs onto the roof through a window. As she is trying to make her way into the other wing, she finds herself in a bathroom where some man is taking a bath behind a curtain. He hears a noise and asks the stranger's name without revealing his own. They exchange a few jokes, and the girl leaves. The next day, Poppy goes to PE, where her class is going to play lacrosse with Harriet's.
We may not win the championships, but we'll win a lot of friends, yeah?
So bloody English.
The head girl hears yet another arrogant comment from the American and invites her to sort things out on the field. The girls engage in a duel and begin desperately jostling for the ball. Freddie, who is passing by, appreciates the spectacle and greets Poppy by name, referring back to their encounter in the bathroom the previous night. Turns out he was the one sitting behind the curtain. He ignores Harriet, who can't take such a stab in the back, and runs to her room. She's too in love with the guy, and the friends try to calm the head girl down, suggesting that Freddie just wanted to hide his real feelings, and that's why he didn't say hello to Harriet. This calms the girl down, but she still needs to teach Poppy a lesson. At this time, the new girl is called to the principal's office. Right away, Poppy starts making excuses and cursing her rival. Kingsley calmly listens to her story, inwardly agreeing with every characterization of Harriet. She offers Poppy the unthinkable, to read not a glossy gossip magazine, but a book, Alice in Wonderland. The American sees this as a punishment. The principal explains that her school does not produce celebrities and Hollywood stars. Instead, here one can learn to behave with dignity at all times and be great at what they do. It's also a place where you can find true, loyal friends who will stick with you for the rest of your life. In the meantime, Harriet, with the help of the younger girls who run errands for her, prepare a bucket full of mud for Poppy. She carefully colors drawings on a piece of paper, imagining herself to be Keira Knightley from Pride and Prejudice. The girl looks out the window, spotting Poppy sitting right below her room. Wasting no time, Harriet orders the younger girl to dump the bucket out the window, and Poppy gets doused from head to toe. The offender makes no secret of her delight at the triumph and receives an obscene gesture in return. After tidying herself up, Poppy sits alone and sad in her room. She tries to dry her only set of school uniform as quickly as possible. It's in this state that Kate notices her. She helps her make her bed properly and then gives the American her own sweater so that she can keep warm. For the first time, Poppy sincerely thanks her roommate for her help. Kate also shows her the cell phone she has hidden from the matron and uses regularly to call home. She offers it to Poppy so that she can call whoever she wants. This touches the seemingly unfeeling troublemaker, and she wonders why Kate doesn't take offense at her for her rude words. The girl replies that although she is not a psychologist from Malibu, she understands Poppy's condition quite well.
But I can guess that you're feeling scared and a little bit homesick.
All these antics are just a defense reaction, and this doesn't make her a bad person in Kate's eyes. She sees a picture of Poppy with her mom on the nightstand and asks if she'll visit her daughter. But the woman can't come because she died in a car crash when her daughter was 11. After hearing about the tragedy, Kate becomes even more sympathetic to her friend's situation and says she'll help Poppy get out of Abbey Mount if that's what she wants. All she has to do is cause a big mess, for which the offender will be summoned to the honor court. They're unlikely to hold it because it's a very serious and cumbersome procedure, but if they do, expulsion is almost guaranteed. Poppy sends Ruby a video message telling her about her plan to get home as soon as possible. She tells her friend to take care of her boyfriend, Rhodey. The girl doesn't need to be asked twice. She watches the video right next to him in bed. At night, out of boredom, Poppy does start reading Alice in Wonderland after all. In order not to get caught by the matron, she illuminates the pages with a lighter. The roommates scare her with flashlights and promise to help with the expulsion too. The important thing is to make sure that all the evidence points to Poppy. To accomplish this, they leave Harriet's contacts in phone booths, and she starts getting obscene phone calls. Then the friends contaminate the school swimming pool, and at the end, they swap the French lesson CDs, exposing the teacher's relationship with a colleague at school. All of this is reported to Miss Kingsley, but she doesn't summon the court yet, which angers Harriet. 5 generations of her family have graduated from this school, and she won't let one stupid American girl ruin the system and eclipse the head girl's glory. Meanwhile, Kate and Poppy continue with the pranks, but nothing works. Sitting in bathtubs, the roommates discuss how to raise the stakes. That's when Drippy suggests targeting the principal personally by seducing her son, Freddie. A nice bonus, of course, would be the head girl's reaction. A school masquerade party is coming up. There will be a dance, and the boys from the male boarding school will also participate.
But the only ones who bother to dress up are teachers, morons, and Harriet.
If they plan everything carefully, the couple should get caught there, and Poppy will definitely get kicked out of school for it. The friends also want to dress up in nice outfits. To do this, they go to the nearest town on the weekend. Before leaving, the matron makes Poppy cover up her too revealing outfit with a grandmother's sweater, which Harriet has brought just in time. The local store's offering is not too exciting, and the girls have to improvise with clothes from the previous century. They take a photo as a souvenir, and afterwards go to a beauty salon. A charismatic hairdresser offers Poppy to change her blonde look to a natural brown color. The result makes the girl very happy.
I look like my mom.
Is she beautiful too?
She was.
Afterward, the girls pretend to be married working women in order to appear more mature at a liquor store. The plan goes awry when sweet-toothed Drippy can't help herself at the sight of chocolate eggs at the checkout counter. The girls return to the boarding school, and soon the day of the dance arrives. Since the theme of the masquerade is movies, Harriet doesn't waste an opportunity to dress up as Keira Knightley again. Freddie is unimpressed, but the girl is completely blind to his reaction, thinking that everything is going great. The friends show up in the hall all dolled up, and Poppy immediately steals the guy for a dance. Harriet tries to stop her and switches the romantic slow dance to hip-hop. This doesn't stop Poppy in the slightest from staying the center of attention. After being tripped by her rival, she falls to the floor, and Freddie volunteers to bring the injured girl outside. She quotes Alice in Wonderland, which impresses the guy. Poppy tries to kiss him, but Freddie doesn't want to rush things and offers to arrange a date on his next visit. But the girl's charm takes over, and their lips end up a millimeter away from touching. At this point, they get interrupted by Harriet's minions, who announce the rules of the school that forbid such behavior. Satisfied, Poppy leaves the room, but both witnesses to the crime refuse to become the ones who break the bad news to Harriet. She would surely become furious and take her anger out on the messengers. Unaware of this, Poppy returns to her friends. She informs them that the mission has been accomplished, and word should soon spread around the school. When they see Harriet continuing to dance peacefully, they realize that it wasn't enough. Poppy will have to get close to Freddie once more in front of the others, and the girl is afraid that she might get attached to the guy. The friends have fun joking that the heart of the Snow Queen from Malibu is beginning to melt, and discuss their romantic successes with the boys from the male boarding school. This is when Poppy finally admits that she's not as experienced with the opposite sex as she previously boasted. Drippy cheerfully invites her to join their nunnery. The next day, Miss Kingsley reprimands the girls for their indecent behavior. The teachers had to get Drippy out of a very peculiar situation.
Actually, it was Kate's vomit, Mrs. Kingsley. I was just lying in it.
The principal didn't expect this from Kate and regrets her admonition to Poppy. Though she has made friends, the girl is dragging them down with her into the abyss of indecency. Left alone with the girl, Kingsley says that she still believes in her. She sincerely wants to take care of the girl and help her to change for the better because she is smart and resourceful. The girls go to a lacrosse game between Abbymount and a rival school. Drippy is too nauseous after the previous night, so Poppy steps in as a substitute. To once again piss off Captain Harriet, the girl goes all out in the game and brings victory to the team. This is the first such success in 30 years, and the principal thanks Poppy in front of the whole school. The American develops a taste for victory and takes on the task of preparing the team for the next round of the competition. She unleashes her talent as a leader, and after a few wins, Abbymount advances to the championship's final. The day of her date with Freddie arrives, and Poppy writes to Ruby to get ready to welcome her back home. Drippy tells her friend that her date is waiting for her, and Poppy rushes outside, leaving the email open on the computer screen. An unknown student notices this and sits down at the keyboard. Freddie meets the girl, planning to take her away from the school so they won't get caught. Although that wasn't part of her plan, Poppy agrees, and the guy unsuccessfully tries to teach her how to drive stick. They have a great time on a walk and genuinely bond. After a kiss, Poppy says she has never had a better date.
Something about you, Poppy Mom. Every moment I'm with you, I catch my breath.
Upon returning to school, Poppy enters her room and finds her friends reading the letter she sent to Ruby. In the text, the American girl calls her roommate stupid and ugly. She writes that she is tired of pretending that they are her friends, so that they would help her get out of this mental asylum as soon as possible and return to her normal life. The letter was pinned to the door by someone, and Poppy tries to explain that it's all a lie and she didn't write anything like that. But Kate and the others don't believe her and cut off all communication. Freddie also receives a letter in which Poppy confesses that she's only using him to get out of school. The boy now doesn't trust the girl either and refuses to listen to her. Poppy finds herself completely alone and goes to the kitchen at night, where she calls Ruby in hopes of receiving support and advice. But her friend is too busy with her relationship with Rhodey and everyday things and hangs up. However, she presses the wrong button and Poppy hears about her friend's betrayal. To cope with the stress, the girl plays with her lighter and accidentally sets the curtain on fire. She quickly beats it out and runs away, but it is not enough. The flame spreads, and the fire is discovered by Drippy, who is snacking again in the middle of the night. An explosion occurs, and the sound of shattering glass causes Poppy to jump out of bed. She quickly wakes up her friends and sets off the alarm in the hallway. Everyone evacuates, and fire trucks arrive at the building. The principal conducts a roll call outside, but Drippy doesn't respond. Poppy, who knows about her friend's secret, realizes that she may be in danger. The girl selflessly rushes into the smoke-filled kitchen and helps get Drippy out into the air. After the fire has been put out, Freddie finds Poppy's lighter on the floor and returns it to the girl so that she won't be accused of arson. Poppy tries to justify herself, but it seems she's still not in Freddie's good graces. The next day, Miss Kingsley gathers the students and asks the culprit to confess by the end of the day, or she will hand the case over to the police. Burning with guilt, Poppy writes a letter to Freddie in which she apologizes and explains that she did want to use him at first, but later abandoned the plan and was completely sincere. Afterwards, she goes to Miss Kingsley and confesses that she had caused the fire. The principal didn't see this coming and is no longer going to defend Poppy. It's time to call the court. This effectively means that Poppy will be expelled. Before leaving, the girl asks her to give the letter to Freddie and apologizes again. Outside the door, she meets Kate.
You finally got what you wanted. You must be overjoyed. I couldn't be more unhappy.
She wants to give her friend a photo of them dressed up together, but Kate is still angry and won't accept the offering. Poppy realizes she doesn't want to leave the school anymore, but it is already too late. She looks up, and on the wall, she sees a picture of the lacrosse team that her mom was the captain of years ago. She didn't realize that her dad had sent her to the same boarding school. In their school uniforms, they look like two peas in a pod. Sitting alone, she is crying over the photo when Freddie finds her. He has read the letter and changed his anger to mercy. The trial begins, and Harriet happily takes the floor, accusing Poppy of all deadly sins. At this moment, the girl's roommates realized that she couldn't have written the letter, as she had left to meet Freddie much earlier. In addition, the entries in her private diary tell a completely different story.
I think, deep breath, I kind of love them. Like proper friends I've known forever.
The girls figure out it was Harriet who entered the computer lab after Poppy, and everything finally clicks into place. At this time, the principal gives Poppy the floor, and the girl does not try to justify her actions, but instead thanks everyone for their warm welcome. Thanks to Abby Mount, she was able to feel close to her mother many years after her death. It has helped her get over her grief, and more than anything, Poppy would like to continue her studies here. Poppy's friends come into the hall to support her and begin whispering to everyone about the slander Harriet has spread about her. Miss Kingsley continues to interrogate the girl, wanting to know if the arson was done with bad intent. Poppy insists it was an accident, but there can be no proof of this, as she was alone in the kitchen. At this point, Kate and the rest of the students take turns getting up from their seats, claiming that they were there next to Poppy, and she really didn't mean to set the building on fire. Furious, Harriet accuses the whole school of conspiring together and continues to insist on Poppy's guilt. She describes in detail how the American sneaked into the kitchen with a lighter and started the fire. But since Freddie hid the weapon in time, the lighter had never been mentioned before, and Poppy was only accused because of her own confession. Thus, Harriet reveals that she had been spying on her rival that night and set the kitchen on fire with the girl's lighter to frame her. Miss Kingsley admits that Poppy is innocent and demands that Harriet come into her office for an investigation. Soon, the day of the final lacrosse match arrives, and Poppy's father comes to watch it. He is very surprised to see his daughter on the field, and with tears in his eyes, realizes how much she looks like her mother. Abby Mount concedes 2 goals early in the match, but at halftime, Poppy leads everyone out for a ritual intimidating dance to boost their morale. She leads the team on, and they tie the score. Drippy scores the final goal and brings the team victory in the championship. Jerry finds his daughter in the crowd and apologizes for not telling her that her mom also went to Abby Mount. He was afraid it would upset Poppy.
He is incredibly proud of you right now, as am I.
In the end, Harriet is expelled, and Poppy invites her friends and Freddie to spend the holidays at her place in Malibu. She ignores Ruby's phone calls and encourages the girls to go cliff diving together. At the beginning of the movie, Poppy mentions that the school is a lot like Hogwarts, and right after that, the matron, played by actress Shirley Henderson, who was also the Weepy Myrtle in Harry Potter movies, appears on the screen. The soundtrack from the movie was also used in Pretty Women with Julia Roberts. Emma Roberts, who played Poppy, is the actress's niece. During the filming, Emma and Alex Pettifer, who played Freddie, began to date in real life. The guy even got a tattoo with the name of the actress on his ring finger, though the couple broke up after a few months. As always, look for the title of the movie in the video description. In the meantime, let us know in the comments. How do you feel about such educational institutions where children are separated from their parents? And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give this video a like so that more awesome stories come out as often as possible.